Welcome to the Finding Free Thought podcast.
This podcast is funded by you. To support our work, please consider making a purchase from our Free Thought shop. Check out my campsite at campsite.bio/goodresonance, where you can follow me on social media, make a donation, subscribe to my newsletter, check out my essential oils offerings, and grab my restorative teas ebook. Please subscribe to the audio version of this podcast on Apple and Podbean and the video version on YouTube and Rumble.
Be sure to check out my 6-episode sci-fi comedy series, Simon Esler's Dystopian Imaginarium, along with my 60-minute comedy special, Theorize About Conspiracies, and my 3-season hit show, Worlds Within, all on Rise TV. And don't forget to hit up simonesler.com for all of my work, to join my newsletter, for links to purchase my NFTs, make donations, and follow me on all social media. You can also join my locals community, Team Free Thought, at teamfreethought.locals.com, where I'll be offering subscribers previews of new sketch comedy material, documentary work, and private broadcasts for supporters only. As a member of Team Free Thought, $5 a month gets you all of that, plus a 15% discount at the Free Thought shop. Welcome to the Finding Free Thought podcast. Today we thought we would do a book review of a book that we found at the public library. Now, we've talked about this before in another episode, some woke books that we found, but we go to the library a lot, but we've been going to the library with our kiddos a ton more lately. And we found this book that I think was particularly freaky and disturbing.
Well, you could be the judge.
But you'll see. Maybe I'm leading people on right away, but we're going to go through this, do a little book review, and then chat about it along the way, and maybe a little bit after. And, if you disagree with us, certainly please comment, but let's apply some free thinking to this book and the impact that it would have on a small child's psyche. Certainly, we did not allow our children to look at this. So this is called Tabitha and Magoo Dress Up Too. All right. I'm Tabitha, and this is my brother Magoo. We love to play dress up. It's just what we do. I wear his superhero cape, mask, and shirts, and he fashions gown from my ruffled pink skirts. All right. Okay, so initially, fine, kids do this. Quite normal. Can say, our kids have messed around with costumes of all kinds. Totally normal. Little kid things.
You can wear a costume and not be trans.
That's right. But let's see where they take it. We look so stupendous, so fierce and so fancy. It makes us feel quite promenading and prancy. Too bad that such dress-up is only for play. We most certainly could never go outside this way. Okay. Let's deal with this here. Why can kids not go outside in costumes? Any costume at all.
I mean, our kids have worn their Halloween costumes in the summer outside, or capes.
Idris was wearing a cape the other day, just running around in a cape.
Yeah.
So this idea that we couldn't go outside this way, of course we know what they're alluding, that a child, if they show up in anything outside of the gender norms, they're going to be ridiculed. I have not found anything like that to be true. Kids are not judgmental in this way.
No.
Unless they're taught to be. But let's continue. But on one special day, while I practiced my powers, and Magoo stumbled about in Mom's heels, high as towers, we laid eyes on a visitor we'd never before seen. A gorgeous, ginormous, fantastic drag queen. All right.
Yes. So, just there, I guess we went from costumes to drag queens.
The huge leap. The huge leap. Now, I want to note something that we're going to come back to later, but it's throughout this book. We're going to be cutting to this as we talk about it. Watch out for the cat, okay? Because there's a very confusing message in this book about the cat. We didn't note it on the other pages, and maybe we'll go back later, but you see the cat right here? Mm-hmm. Dressed up as, what is that, a fish? The cat is dressed up as a fish, okay?
So the cat has a transient identity, too.
Yes.
as well.
That's right. I will also note that if this person barged in on my children out of nowhere, I would find that to be particularly freaky.
Yeah. I think even the depiction in the book might
I think
potentially scare some kids.
Yes.
I mean, that's not the biggest ordeal, really.
Well, and Matt Walsh talks
certain
about
things-
this. Like, why is the imitation of a woman like a weird caricature of a woman?
Yeah.
Why is it so obviously over the top and almost it's like if you were going to ridicule women, like when you look back on like Monty Python and all those like old comedies that would have like men cross-dressing.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they looked like when they were being ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of note. My name is Morgana, but please call me Mo. To the homes of the littlest drag queens I go, zipping near, zipping far in my magic drag car, to help you become the bright stars that you are. Okay. So again,
Yeah.
the depiction here, this is a gigantic man who has barged in on the room. But again, okay, note the cat. What's the cat now?
That's changed again.
The cat is a porcupine.
Yeah.
Now, I want people to remember that the cat keeps changing, because there is this philosophy, like within wokeism and identity politics, there's this idea that once you choose what you are, you just are that. At least that's the way they're treating kids right now. So let's keep watching the cat, because I think the focus by the end of this is going to be what message would this send.
But also, again, they're just bringing sexuality in right now, because what we know drag to be is not who you are, like, in your life as your identity. It's one aspect to your life.
Yes.
That adults identify as, and it's predominantly about sexuality.
Yeah.
It's not just about how you dress. It's a whole realm, and
That's
we've
drag
been
culture.
to drag shows before, and it's entertainment. It's adult entertainment.
Yep.
It can be fun when adults are consenting to something like this, but talking to kids, how could a kid even know what the lifestyle of a drag queen contains and entails?
That's right. That's right.
Like, this is not dressing up. This is much bigger than just dressing up.
Let's keep going here. Mo opened her marvelous sparkling bag and pulled out a marvelous sparkling rag. She said, "Now, my dears, it is time for a quiz. Can you please tell Morgana what color this is?" Magoo certainly knew. He cried, "Pink is the hue, and I love it, I do, but I'm supposed to love blue." And he cried, "Boo-hoo-hoo, my sweet brother Magoo thought pink, though pink fills his heart with wonderful joy, he is nervous to wear it because he's a boy." Okay. There's so many things going on here that are ridiculous. First of all, let's just note that the cat has now changed to a koala. This boy is sobbing because he's so terrified of wearing pink. Now, there's so many things going on here. First of all, if you look at the history of the girls pink, boy blue thing, this was handed to us through consumerism, but the history of it is that before pink and blue had these alleged representations, it was switched. So when the fashion industry was first denoting what was masculine and feminine, they actually denoted pink as masculine and blue as feminine. And then at some point there was a sort of industry decision to switch it. And so this idea here that we're now in a position where a boy is sobbing because he's so scared to wear pink, again, where is this coming from?
Well, the times have changed. Like, again, maybe, like, I guess 30, 40 years ago, or even 20 years ago, I don't know. Maybe there would have been some teasing going on and things like that. Like, I definitely had kids in my class in junior kindergarten that were, like, boys who played with dolls, and they got made fun of.
But my point is that that's not a gender construct. That's an industry. That's the industry. Like, you should teach your kids about
boys who play, like, wear dresses and play with dolls and stuff.
Sure.
Yes, they got made fun of.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure.
And I don't think that's right.
Yeah.
You know, that's the part of it that I disagree with.
Yep.
But in the now in 2022, when this book is released, and even like up until this point, no, boys aren't getting, you know, at least to me, not in the degree.
No, not in the way they're saying.
This boy is sobbing. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. We had it with Asher actually a few times because he had pink.
He had pink sandals. But he didn't get ridiculed. Kids were just like, "Are those girls' sandals?"
Yeah, and it wasn't all the kids. It was
just
dependent on how they were raised.
Yeah, but it wasn't a moment of terror or bullying when we saw it happen. They just asked, and then for Asher, it was just like, no. And then they kept playing.
But it did make him feel uncomfortable.
For a moment. But I think my point is that when I look back on the history of the pink, blue, blue, pink thing, to me, that's just a lesson to your children about consumerism, not about gender norms. I don't think we should be allowing consumerism to dictate those things. I think there's a lot going on in consumerism that is sometimes like that. But then again, once you teach children about that, then that's it.
But I guess I have a question. Like, because of the, you know, all of the wokeness that's occurred, would someone, you know, who considers themselves to be on the other spectrum allow their boy to wear pink if the boy wanted to wear pink? Because now we know what it means. It does carry different meaning if a boy wears pink. They've put it into this trans world that if a boy is wearing pink, he might be trans.
Yes,
and
exactly.
so now what do we do on the side of us who are, you know, and many of you out there who don't consider yourselves to be in the woke realm, but also what if your boy wants to wear pink? Will you forbid it because of the wokeness?
Yes, exactly. Like the right-wing extreme response
because that's suppressing their potential identity as well.
Yeah.
So it's now like, you know, that's just a question. It's just a curiosity that I have. You know, because there is a tendency to want to push back, you know, in an extreme way as well, which I understand.
But even just the idea that a boy who wants to wear pink identifies with feminine, doesn't that go counter to their idea that these norms don't really represent that? You know what I mean? The whole notion is that pink should not represent the feminine. These gender norms are harmful. But then a kid wears pink and they're like, oh, he identifies as a girl.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, we know
that's totally illogical to their own claims about gender norms. Aren't they reinforcing gender norms by saying his desire for pink is feminine?
Well, I guess they are because they're saying it's not about anatomy, but then it is because that's what they're doing to children. They're trying to change their anatomy. So it really is about that.
Clearly this boy should get surgery at the Boston Children's Hospital right away. Obviously, he should be cut up. All right, let's move on. Wasting no time in what she'd come to teach, Morgana launched into a serious speech. She told us that clothes aren't for girls or for boys, and the same goes for hobbies and colors and toys. Well, let's just stop here. If the clothes aren't for anyone, then why does it matter that he wants to wear pink?
Well, I guess...
Why is it being associated with drag at all?
Yeah, they're just saying that I think that the current state, which I don't think is really happening as much as they say, is that kids can't wear, like, boy can't wear pink, or they'll, you know, they won't be accepted.
Yes, but
or
what
a girl
I'm saying
can't dress
is,
like a boy.
Why does a boy wearing pink mean that he is drag at all? Why does that... What I'm saying is, like, some of the messaging right now is saying, if you have a toddler that chooses these things, that toddler might be trans. This is the messaging that's going out. If you have a child who refuses haircuts, a boy who refuses haircuts, they might identify as a girl, like a 4-year-old, 3-year-old boy. Mm-hmm. This is some of the messaging going out. Anyways, just something to note. And again, the cat has now changed to a cobra. Mm-hmm. Like Mama Roo said, we are all born nude. Our clothing is drag. Every dress, tie, and snood. Now I know that some people make ridiculous rules, but you'll learn to defy them, and I'll give you some tools. Boys are meant to wear pink if it fills them with bliss. Anyone who says different, you'll have to dismiss. And girls can wear blue and be powerful too. All these boys' rules and girls' rules just simply aren't true. Did you know that some girl kids inside feel like boys? And that lots of boy children have fierce, girlish poise? That some children have both boy and girl in their heart? And some kids have neither. A new gender they'll start.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh.
What are your thoughts on that there, Amanda?
That's scary.
Okay, again, I will continue to dismiss the idea that you can be trapped in the wrong body.
Yeah.
No, you cannot be born in the wrong body.
You may feel uncomfortable and, well, like body dysmorphia.
Yep. Body dysmorphia is real, like gender dysphoria. That's something that some people struggle with. But the fundamental idea that there can be this whoopsies on Earth where people are born in the wrong body. Just, what you were supposed to be in a girl body, but you ended up in a boy body.
Wrong, or whatever.
You were misgendered by the doctor or by your parents.
Because they gendered you based on your anatomy.
That's right. This is a fundamentally false notion that is made up by gender theory. Made up.
I also wonder, because, like, again, like, just on a purely psychological level, the identity of a human isn't fully fulfilled until, honestly, like, you're 30.
It takes decades of lived experience to form a solid identity.
Yeah.
No, children have not done that. A kid could be so flamboyant for a huge portion of their childhood and still end up completely hetero and totally comfortable.
Or just gay, even.
Or gay, yeah. Well, gays and lesbians are being canceled by the trans thing. They're trying to make they are making the trans identity more trendy and appealing to kids, to the point that woke homophobia is now a problem in schools, and gay and lesbian kids, or teens, I would say, because a kid doesn't know yet, they're not sexual yet, are being ridiculed because they're not trans, which is the hip new
cool
thing,
to do,
right?
yeah.
It's cool. The cat is now a bat.
Yeah, because you can they're saying, you make up your own entire gender for you.
But let's consider carefully that currently Canadian law states that if you have a child who identifies as transgender and you do anything to support their connection to their anatomical self, it is considered conversion therapy. Anything. If you have them speak to anyone about actually just connecting more with the identity of their body, it's considered conversion therapy. And in the laws, it states basically that once a child has made that choice, it cannot be contested by the parents at all. So on the one hand, you have the law saying that that child's choice is permanent. They now have their permanent identity. And then you have this book with this cat that's constantly changing identities. So which is it? And what is the message to children if the law is one way and these books are saying it's all over the map, whatever you want, any day, every moment it's switching?
Well, I know adults who, friends of mine who've been hetero, and then once these new sort of sexual identities came about, they started to label themselves with new identities that they had never done before. Yeah. Like, people that I know that were just bi are now, like, all labeling themselves with things, like, in their later years, like in their 30s, they're starting to do these things. It's interesting. And I know everyone's looking for, like, something to describe, like, how unique they are as an individual, but I just don't, and I do understand that sentiment, but I don't think you're going to find it in the world of gender identity. You're not going to find your full uniqueness
you have less
in gender identity.
That's right, because there's a homogenization within gender identity culture, within woke culture. It's very homogenizing. It's not about individuality. Yeah. It's about tribalism, and it's about landing in a form of tribalism.
Yes.
So it actually squashes free thought. And I think it's
in fact, they really hate individuals. Like, if you look at, or not hate, but really dislike individuals in that community because it's so tribal.
Yes.
Because you just have to follow the rules.
It's aggressively tribal. And if a child is growing up, let's say a child, they're at school and they get introduced to this stuff and they're like, I'm in the wrong body, right? At that point, that child can now never speak to an adult about changing their mind. Again, in Canadian law, it's dangerous now for any adult to speak to that child about any other choice. All you can do under Canadian law is affirm. That's it. That's your only choice. Once the child has made that, and of course, as I just said, it takes decades of lived experience to form an identity. And I've gotten in debates about this online with people who say kids know who they are. That a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, they know who they are. You have to trust them. You're being so judgmental and condescending that you don't trust that child and that they know who they are. No, they don't. No, they don't. Because neurologically they can't. You don't have the psychological developmental phases completed yet to actually know who you are. Lived experience is required.
I guess, does any adult, like, who's alive now, like, feel like they knew who they were? Certainly right. There were parts of ourselves that were not acceptable, and that goes for anybody, where we felt like certain parts of ourselves were not accepted by our family or friends or school, and that could be your gender. Yeah. It's possible.
Yeah. Let's keep going. You see, my dear children, when gender expression is hampered with rules, it just leads to depression. But when you are given unbridled creation, it leads to a playful rainbow liberation.
Which is obviously not true, because we know that people who go through these things end up oftentimes experiencing more depression.
That's right.
You know, having gone through like hormonal treatments and like really going on like farther.
This is
obviously not necessarily super young kids, but some kids are being treated at a young age already.
Yes, so they're treating younger and younger children.
The potential of them having even more suicidal ideation, even more disconnect from their physical body, is a likely high chance of that, feeling even worse about their physical body, feeling even worse about who they are and their health and well-being and identity.
Well, because a child born in a male body will never be female. They never will be. And vice versa. It will never happen. There will be perpetual disharmony between their sense of self and their body, no matter how many surgeries they get, no matter how many people affirm them, no matter how many woke celebrities parade themselves around, cut up. There will always be disharmony because they will never be that thing. So they cannot achieve the harmony that someone who is connected to their anatomy has achieved. They can't. It's not possible. And I think, too, what's insidious about this is this idea that it leads to liberation when you have all these detransition stories, all these horror stories coming out, and we've only seen the tip of the iceberg because we're going to have a lot more of these coming out. But all these stories of people saying that no one challenged me, which, of course, as I said, is Canadian law to not be challenged. No one challenged me. No one questioned it. No one really explained the possible side effects to me. This is something that has come up again and again, that the consent forms that children are coerced into signing state that they really don't know the side effects. Of course, there's no long-term studies on this. We've never done this to a whole bunch of children before. So this whole idea that it leads to liberation, and again, if you think of how dark it is that there's children being led down that path, and you now have adults speaking out about the detransition experience, being kicked off of Twitter for just sharing the detransition experience. I shared some of this on my Instagram, and fortunately I got to it before this person was removed from Twitter. But it is the horror stories of what the surgery really did to them. They're not being allowed to speak out. Detransition stories are being hidden. One of the main speakers in What is a Woman, I can't remember their name now, also got kicked off Twitter. So you have two major people in the trans community trying to share their detransition stories being censored by big tech platforms. And yet this, as it leads to liberation, and then this cute ridiculousness with the cat. And that cat is now a bear. Right? It's all just silly and fun. As long as you're hiding the darkness that could potentially arise from this. So Magoo, be a princess. Tabitha, a crime fighter. Being yourself helps your spirit shine brighter. And once in your outfits, at home, do not cower. Let's show off together at Drag Queen Story Hour. Yeah. Okay. So, and you've personally attended a Drag Queen Story Hour. You went and checked it out. Of course, these are more common now. But it's gone even further. You remember maybe a year ago, it was just let the drag queens go to libraries and read books. And now it's let the children into gay bars while they put money in the thong of a man dressed as a woman. And that's not an isolated incident. There's plenty of videos of this. And I don't want to stoke more division. I just think it's important that we protect children from being deeply misled and from being put in situations saturated by adult sexuality. Hetero, gay, any of that. Doesn't matter. No adult sexuality should be saturating the minds of innocent, developing children. Their innocence needs to be protected. In Morgana's drag car, we whizzed through our city. Me looking tough, Magoo looking pretty. When I first read this, I was like, this is creepy. A man showed up in their house and took them away in his car.
No parents were involved at all in this book so far.
Zero parenting. Zero family.
So the role modeling is coming from this character. And, like, I have seen, like, positive role modeling in books with other characters that aren't parental, too. So it's not just this, but it's extra creepy.
There's a strange, gigantic, cross-dressing man appearing in their room.
Skin? Like,
yes, it's a creepy-looking character. The way it's been drawn, I'm sorry, is creepy. That's not to say that all drag queens look creepy necessarily.
No, but...
But this is creepy-looking. Yeah. And, again, this is a strange man, a story of a strange man appearing in the children's room, teaching them about these concepts and then taking the children away in the car without any parents at all.
Like, it would certainly change the tone of the book if it was the parent speaking to the kid about their identity.
We're going to get to how they treat parents in this book. It comes up. Let's keep going. Welcome, oh welcome, the librarian cried, as Morgana led me and my brother inside. We found a great gathering of kid after kid expressing themselves in the same way we did. All right, Amanda, let's go through all the people in this little library here.
Yeah. All of the... Well, again, it's another non-parental figure, so it's the librarian and the drag queen together gathering a group of misfit kids that would be very unlikely to find all of these kids in one room. Like, again, we're talking about minorities, right? That's the whole point of this, is that trans people are minorities. Yeah. So they've filled the room with minorities.
Nothing but minorities.
But if you have a minority, like if you have 20 people in a room, you might have one.
That's
or none.
Why they're called minorities.
So to have all the minorities in one room, it might be a minority party of some kind, where they're just gathering minorities to have this sort of kids gathering.
But this is supposed to be a magical library that is ideal. Like, we're talking about cultural ideals, okay? And ideals are very powerful things. So when the ideal is the absence of the majority, then we're talking about an inversion of the real experience the children are going to have in the world. Mm-hmm. Right? It's inverted. This is by no means what children will experience in the world. You have a couple disabled people. I'm not even sure what's going on in all of these things. This child in bell bottoms, I don't know what that's about.
Yeah, I think they're just, again.
They're just meant to, there's like I guess a kid who's like mixed race. There's an albino kid on a scooter. Yeah. A lot going on here. Let's continue. Morgana is here to read us a story and inspire us with her spectacular glory. But before we get started and bask in her glow, just what is a drag queen? Does anyone know? A unicorn without a horn, true to themselves since the day they were born. Is that really what it is? I think actually a drag queen is a man dressed as a woman performing sexually for adults. that is initially what it was. Drag queen, that's the history of drag queens. So we're not talking like Shakespearean time with male actors playing females. That wasn't a drag queen. Those were actors.
Yeah.
Right? A drag queen, its history is sexual. It's not the same as Mrs. Doubtfire. Okay? Not the same thing. Overtly sexual. And you're placing something that is culturally sexualized into a children's space.
And also I question, is this the only way to be who you are? Like, what about hetero people as well? Like, I assume that they can also be true to themselves without being a unicorn.
A unicorn without a horn is what's being described here.
I see. Okay.
Born in the wrong body.
True to themselves since the day they were born? And, like, again, I think the being true to yourself thing happens over time in a place where, yeah, you can wear dresses if you feel like it, but the parents or the caregiver in that space is not applying anything onto what the kid is evolving into. Yeah. So the kid is just going through life as openly as possible, and we know it's difficult. There's always homogenization and cultural influence. But to nurture as best as possible the natural unfolding of that child's identity over like 30 years.
Through non-interference, really, is the main thing.
And so like kids might wear dresses and you can't panic about that and you just relax and you don't call them gay or trans or anything.
Yes.
Like just leave it.
Yes.
You know, it's an interest for now.
Well, and true to themselves since the day they were born, you don't have a self when you're born. You don't.
It's true.
You don't have it. The self takes time to develop. It's difficult. It's challenging.
That's part of being a human.
That's right. It's a real struggle to realize the self. A real difficult long-term struggle. It's a marathon.
It's a lifetime, really.
That's right.
You spend your life getting to know who you are and why you made these choices and like how this unfolds, your consciousness, right?
Yeah.
You know, they're not, what are they talking about here? Your consciousness? Like,
this is nonsense. This doesn't mean anything at all. It's nonsense, which is problematic because this is for very young minds trying to sort the world out. And
very
handing
confusing.
handing them confusing nonsense is damaging. It's very damaging, especially now that it's everywhere.
I'd say most kids can identify with this. Why not? Because you feel like all kinds of different things.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
most
again,
kids could relate to some aspect of this, you know,
yeah,
on some level, like depending on the kid.
Well, that's why they have the cat. Again, now the cat is a hippo. They keep making it like it's silly dress up, right? The cat just keeps changing costumes. It's like a kitty cat wearing all these different animal costumes, but it's not because you're saying it's who you were when you were born. So the cat was all these different things when it was born. Which one is it? These are contradictory messages.
Yeah.
Okay? Why can the cat keep changing if you are who you are from the day you were born? It doesn't make any sense.
I guess they're saying a cat, the person that I am is constantly changing costumes.
Yeah, so it's someone with no identity.
That's what they were saying. You make up your own. And this cat may be making up its own identity, which is changing every day.
Which, guys, in the end, just follow this through to the logical conclusion. It's called transhumanism. It's called transhumanism. Okay, let's keep going.
God, this long, crazy book.
A teacher, a mentor, a role model, a leader, a stitcher, a painter, hot gluer and beater, an artist, a diva who gives us drag fever. Okay. Again, I'm so creeped out by this illustration. The white makeup.
I don't know. It looks green to me.
It's kind of green. Blue hair.
But also just this, again, you know, it's kind of egotistical a little bit. It comes across as like this weird praise, like the kid's arms are reaching towards the drag queen and
worship.
It's a worship page to me, and it freaks me out because you're saying you're a teacher, you're a mentor, hooray for you.
All drag queens automatically the ideal, again, we're back to a cultural ideal. The ideal here is if you see a drag queen in the world, they are a hero automatically. Of course, unless they get caught being a pedophile, which has happened so many times. But there is this idea that they should be worshipped as heroes no matter what. Automatically just do that because that is a solution to the hate of the world that would otherwise unfold. Unless you worship drag queens, you're stoking hate, you're transphobic. A drag queen can show us all how to have courage while conjuring elegance from a pile of old rubbish. Okay, so I guess your body is rubbish. Your body is a bunch of rubbish and you have to conjure elegance. It's confusing to me because as an adult, I know where this all ends. It's not costumes. It's surgery and hormone blockers. So there's a lot of creepy layers here when you realize what's really happening. And again, the cat has changed. The cat is back to being a different kind of fish. But what is the message here? That you're... What is the old rubbish?
I guess they make clothes from garbage. I'm not
That's
sure.
heroic?
Is that a drag queen thing, though? I've met many drag queens. They don't wear garbage. They
That's
actually
what I'm
wear
saying.
fancy, expensive clothing.
That's what I don't understand. Is the person's identity rubbish? Like, what was rubbish to begin with that they conjured? Because it's literally a picture of a trash, like a dumpster.
I don't know.
She's pulling... What is the message for children here? To pull garbage?
Wear garbage? That's how I would interpret it as a kid. Like, very point blank, like, in
little
the picture.
kids, that's right.
It's like, well, I guess I could wear garbage. Like, whether they mean that the garbage is on the inside or outside, I don't know.
understand.
But the picture shows someone wearing garbage. So I would just take it very literally.
Okay.
As a kid, anyway. It's like, I guess I should wear garbage.
I guess they told
Which
us
is
at
also-
school to wear garbage. Thank you, dear children. I feel quite understood. Okay, I have to stop there. This idea that adults need to be validated by children
Yes.
needs to stop. This TikTok is full of queer and trans teachers being like, my kids totally validated my identity today.
Why do your
Okay.
kids know anything about that part of your life?
Yeah,
Like-
it's totally unnecessary. And why do you need the validation of small children? What is wrong with you?
I don't think I knew any of my teachers' partners. I don't recall the
You know what?
husbands or wives of my...
No, I remember finding out as a rumor amongst kids that one of my teachers was gay, and us being like, haha, yeah, that makes sense. And that was it.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't because he told us. It was somehow someone had seen him with his husband somewhere else in the town.
It was a rumor.
It was a rumor that came about, but there was no judgment. It was just like, oh yeah, okay, and we moved on. But at no point did he share that. In fact, I remember realizing, oh, he really kept all that very private.
I would be freaked out if my teacher talked about her husband.
Yes.
I'd be like,
I
why are
want
you
that.
talking to a child about your relations?
That's right.
If my own parents do that, we've learned that's inappropriate, right?
That's
When
right.
people are like, if you go to a therapist, they're like, God, why is your parent talking to you about their life's problems?
My children validated my heterosexuality so much today.
Yeah, so
They made me feel so hetero. No, this is
Crazy.
ridiculous. Anyways, let's keep going. Stuff disturbs me. Thank you, dear children. I feel quite understood. Now let us start reading these books. They're so good. A sweet kid called Bailey dreams of 10,000 dresses, while Heather's two mommies help clean up her messes. Tango's a penguin with two penguin daddies. Oliver Buttons a star who prevails over baddies. We'll read Ada Twist and Rosie Revere, Rad American Women. There's just so much here. Okay, so this is the propaganda reinforcing other propaganda. These are all the other books they, of course, want you to take out now. I'm sure our library has all of these.
But I've read the Rosie Revere and Ada Twist books. They're good.
Great.
I like them.
Great.
Yeah, so-
Actually, I do recognize Ada Twist.
It's
Ada
really
Twist is
good.
just a
But
scientist.
it's because she's a black young girl, and so
Yeah.
there's a feminine
BIPOC.
empowerment.
It's the BIPOC.
But you could just read it and not make a big deal about it. But
We've read Ada Twist.
they're really
and
good
the kids
because
like
she's
it.
about making mistakes and science. She's exploring, and her parents are getting upset because she's making big messes and she's a scientist.
But we're not reading it being like, do you notice the color of her skin?
No, but I think for certain people who are underrepresented, it is meaningful for some young black girls to see themselves represented to a certain extent. I get that. I do empathize with that. I do. I understand. I mean, I've never had that experience.
Sure, but I'll speak to that. For someone to connect with their identity as a black person is going to take decades of lived experience.
Yeah.
It's no matter what.
Yeah. And that should be reflected in storybooks,
sure,
and media and culture.
Sure.
Like, absolutely. There was a long period of time where only a certain color and look was depicted, and that goes for women too, body types, all these things, which we've already fought for, saying that that's wrong. Like, looking at women in a certain way, only this type of body, only this, that is wrong too. So there's nothing wrong with these books. Like, I think those books are okay.
I don't know all of them.
No, I mean those two.
Oh, yes.
The other ones are freaky, I think.
I think they're along the lines of
I've read 10,000 Dresses as too. And it's okay. It's just about a boy wearing a dress. And it did not contain, it's like pre-propaganda. Like, they're a little bit older. It was like, probably 5 to 10 years ago or something.
Along the trajectory of all the content that's going on and everything that has been injected into the curricula, it ends up being grooming.
Yeah, it's just a slow transition. So, like, when I read 10,000 Dresses, I was like, yeah, it's a boy who wears dresses, but they weren't talking about trans. They weren't, like this book, where it's very clearly pushing drag queens, trans, this and that. So, but you can see how they gradually warmed people up.
And again,
over time.
Within this philosophy, a boy who wears a dress is in the wrong body. Almost certainly in the wrong body. Quick, help them be trans.
But the 10,000 Dresses book was just more like, if the boy wants to wear a dress, he can wear a dress. If I recall correctly, like, I read it to Asher.
Yeah, it doesn't infer anything else.
No.
That boy could become totally hetero. It has nothing to do with his adult choices in sexuality, in partners. No, it's not connected automatically.
Yeah.
All right,
it's just a precursor book.
Groomers. Thanks to Morgana, we've said sayonara to rules that prohibit Magoo's pink tiara. We explained to our mom the problem with gender, and if she has any questions, we know just where to send her. Okay. This is the first time they've brought parents into this book. To me, they're immediately talking about the sort of ignorance of parents, and that the children who have been indoctrinated need to bring that indoctrination home and challenge their parents. And this is a big thing that's going on right now within the school system, especially in the United States. Any parent who challenges any of this is being called an extremist. They're being sometimes surveilled by the government. It's quite intense. But you also have a battle now for laws in which schools, woke schools and woke teachers are fighting for the right to hide a child's transition from the parents. They want to be able to help the child transition without notifying the parents. And the way they're trying to sort of rope this in is by saying, oh, well, there are children in abusive homes, and if they can't confide in teachers privately, then how can we have schools as a safe space for children in dangerous homes? So they're making an equivalency between, let's say, a child who's physically abused at home and a child who lives in a home where they're not being propagandized by gender theory all the time. So if the parents aren't propagandizing the children with gender theory, if the parents disagree with gender theory, they are basically equivalent to an abusive household, and the teachers in the schools should have a right to hide the transition process from the parents, because they're saying that is a form of protecting the child from these parents. So I can just, some of that is an undercurrent, I would say, in this section. And then, of course, there's the creepy man zooming by in his car. The mom, I don't know, the mom doesn't seem to care. Their children were just kidnapped for 2 hours. The cat is a lion now on a skateboard. To RuPaul, Hot Mess, or Flawless Sabrina. To Pepper or Marcia, Devine or Heclina. Their dazzling chutzpah did pave the way for Drag Queen Story Hour to happen today.
Freaky.
Again, worship. Worship trans people as heroes, no matter what. They are a sign and ideal for courage in our society. And for kids like me and my brother Magoo to just say PU to rules about pink and blue, there are many more numbers than ones and zeros. We love you, drag queens. You're forever our heroes. And there it is. They just say it at the end. Drag queens automatically, forever, heroes, no matter what. And if you disagree with that, you're transphobic. But again, all of this, they're pretending it's just about fighting pink and blue gender norms.
It's not about pink and blue.
And
that's so minuscule.
It's so.
You wouldn't write a book like this if it were just pink and blue.
I'm wearing pink right now. Right now. And of course, the cat is now an ostrich. And let's look at the kids who are in the street here. There is what appears to be a boy with breasts. I don't know. There's a lot going on here.
Yeah.
There's like you said, there's the push to represent minorities to try and help minorities feel better, but then it becomes an inversion of what the child will likely actually experience in the world. Mm-hmm. And, you have people saying that there's the dangerous white male patriarchy basically coming for us all, and this is the only way to protect children from it. There was a teacher recently who came out saying that they feel dangerous around all white people. That's a teacher. So imagine being a student of a white male student of that teacher who is on social media saying they feel in danger around all white people. Well, how's the young white boy going to take that? So again, in theory, it's understandable that you want some books that represent some minorities that help them feel included in our culture. Sure. But all of this is propped up by the most powerful industries of media in the world right now. And now we go into the library and these books are overflowing off the shelves. Nonstop.
Gotta be careful.
Of course, here's a final image of all the children drawing the rainbow. I am so stoked that my children only see these as rainbows and have no idea it has anything to do with a symbol for adult sexuality or a spectrum of adult sexual identities. And that's it. That is the end. And I think one of the names... Yeah, Little Miss Hot Mess.
Yeah, she's a popular drag queen.
Yeah, that was some other ones. I'll throw it up on the screen. If you're a drag queen and you know it, or the hips on the drag queen go swish, swish, swish. Little kids for little kids. Anyways, that's the end of our book report, I guess. Our book review. This is all insidious in terms of what the end game is. It's insidious in terms of how the laws have been changed, about how, in terms of how parental rights have been stripped away in the context of these cultural forces. So it's not benign. It's not just a book about inclusivity. And now that we have Boston Children's Hospital and Princeton University coming out talking about trans 3-year-olds and affirming 3-year-old trans kids, we have a serious problem with our culture. And it starts with books like this. So I don't take it very lightly that there's more and more of this, because it's in coordination with a mass campaign that says that a 3-year-old knows who they are, and they do not. They do not. And the most one could concede to any of this is that when you're an adult, maybe get surgery, maybe, but that's the most I would ever concede to any of this. No child or teenager should be groomed into a position where they make permanent changes. And this is where it starts, right? This is how a teen ends up getting a double mastectomy. This is how you end up having children's genitals mutilated by the time they're 18. It starts with things like this, because over the years, they're given more and more and more propaganda like this, and that's what ends up happening. So it's really not innocent or benign. It's not really about inclusivity. It is about grooming.
Yeah,
100%.
because many years ago, drag queens were just men who dressed as women.
Yeah.
They weren't
women. Trapped in the wrong body.
They weren't trapped in the wrong body. They weren't feeling... I mean, I'm sure there were some that felt uncomfortable in all this. Like, I
don't know. That's
met
them.
many people. No, I know. I just mean with the dysmorphia and stuff like that being real.
Yeah.
But for the majority, it was not. It was just, I'm a man who dresses as a woman as part of my lifestyle.
Well, and there's major forces at play here. I'll say that one thing that I covered in the film Vague Rules, that's on Dauntless Dialogue, is a film that I made with Adam Riva. And one of the things that we covered in it was that Amazon started censoring books that encouraged people with gender dysmorphia to get therapy. They started censoring it and only allowing books that promoted surgery and puberty blockers. So when you have the largest book distributor in the world trying to funnel our culture towards that endpoint, towards the notion that if you have any kind of dysmorphia, the best thing you can do is medical intervention, then it really is just biological warfare to me. That's biological warfare. That is warfare on the biology of the human race. Because a lot of people who actually have gender dysmorphia, which I would say is actually quite rare, and I would say there's a difference between someone who medically has arrived upon that condition versus a child who has been groomed through the education system and mainstream culture. I wouldn't say those are the same thing at all. But why has the option for therapy been dwindled away? Because there's an agenda. There's an agenda to actually harm and change children in a way that is dangerous. And there's an agenda to remove parental rights and parental influence. And it is especially strong here in Canada, where the laws have been changed against parental rights. It's very dangerous. A parent can be jailed for up to 5 years for conversion therapy. And let it be noted that in those laws, it does not go the other way around. The law only goes towards the trans and LGBTQ spectrum. It doesn't go the other way around. So you cannot be jailed or charged for conversion therapy in terms of converting a child into this ideology. So that's 100% A-OK. It's legally not possible in Canada to perform conversion therapy on a child in that direction, but in the other direction, fines, jail, right away, jail right away. That kind of thing. To quote a popular meme. Anyways, I think we should do more book reviews in the future since we're at the library so often. And let us know if you guys want us to do more book reviews. I mean, we're probably going to do it anyway, but...
Let us know what you think about this book.
We want your
maybe
feedback.
There's something that you see or a unique viewpoint that you have to share. Or maybe you like the book. I don't know.
Hey, challenge us. Throw down. Let's do it. Let's chat. Let's find some free thought. Maybe there's places where our thinking isn't that free and someone else has some freedom to offer us.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of the show. Thank you for tuning in this week. And please support the podcast. Follow us on all our social media. We deal with quite a bit of censorship, actually. So please support us on social media, and please support us by purchasing all the different things we have to offer. You can check out all of the links that are in the description and ways to help us keep doing what we're doing. And we'll see you guys next time.
See you next time.